Napoleon. He didn't just conquer Europe, he financed it. We usually remember Napoleon through battle maps, on horseback, arm extended, shaking Europe. But there's something most people miss. Napoleon didn't just take territory. He turned conquered territory into a revenue model. Armies marched, kingdoms fell, treaties were signed. But the real story wasn't happening on the battlefield. The real question was simple. Who was paying for all of this? France wasn't rich. Looking back, it feels like Napoleon inherited a powerful state. He didn't. The France he took over was financially exhausted. The monarchy had collapsed under debt. Support for the American Revolution had drained the treasury. Interest payments were swallowing state revenues. Then came the revolution. Paper money flooded the economy. Assignats were printed in excess. Inflation exploded. Currency collapsed. Trust evaporated. Napoleon didn't inherit wealth. He inherited instability. His first move, order. Napoleon's first real move wasn't another invasion. It was financial stabilization. He created the Bank of France. He anchored the franc to gold and silver. He disciplined tax collection. Inside France, he rebuilt fiscal structure. But outside France, he built something else entirely, making others pay for war. Napoleon understood a basic truth. War is expensive. If you make your own population carry that burden indefinitely, you weaken yourself from within. So he chose a different path. After every major victory, he imposed heavy indemnities. Austria paid, Prussia paid, Italian states paid, German territories supplied troops and funds. France fought wars that were financed by the defeated. This wasn't chaotic looting, it was structured extraction. But there was a condition. The system only worked under one assumption. Victory had to continue. New campaigns meant new revenue. New revenue meant new campaigns. The empire became a leveraged expansion model. As long as growth continued, the machine ran. But once expansion slowed, the math shifted. The continental gamble. Unable to defeat Britain at sea, Napoleon attacked its economy. The continental system forced Europe to cut trade with Britain. On paper, it made sense. In practice, it was complicated. European economies were deeply tied to British commerce. Smuggling exploded. Black markets grew. Economic pressure mounted. Russia eventually began ignoring the blockade. Russia. Where the model broke in 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia. Nearly 600,000 troops. The largest army Europe had ever seen. But this time something changed. There was no profitable victory, no indemnity, no new revenue, only loss. The army disintegrated, manpower vanished, resources evaporated. Napoleon's system depended on victorious expansion. Russia wasn't just a military defeat, it was a collapse of cash flow. Britain played a different game. Britain didn't rely on indemnities. It relied on debt markets. It issued bonds. Investors bought them. Trust remained intact. Debt was high, but it was sustainable. Napoleon's model was fast. Britain's model was resilient. The real lesson. Napoleon wasn't financially ignorant. Domestically, he imposed discipline. But his strategic model assumed perpetual expansion, continuous growth, continuous external financing, continuous victory. When growth stopped, leverage reversed, and the burden fell back on France. What this means today. Modern powers still try to shift costs outward. Sanctions, trade disputes, reserve currency dominance, debt financing. Externalizing cost is power, but it's conditional power. When credibility weakens, costs return home. The conclusion. Napoleon's empire was brilliant, fast, impressive, relentless, but it required motion. The moment it stopped moving, the bill arrived. History doesn't punish ambition. It punishes unsustainable financing. Real power isn't having the largest army. Real power is having a system strong enough to sustain it